So what happens when you put Mercury in Capricorn? Well, what happens is the same thing that happens whenever you put any planet in any sign, or whenever you put any of two things of anything together. Whatever the two parties have in common will become important. And whether they agree on those things or disagree will determine whether we have good important or bad important. So let's use that basic analytical framework to analyze Mercury and Capricorn, as we've been doing for every planet so far in every sign. The first thing that comes to mind is a harmonious resonance between Mercury and Capricorn. They're on the same page about how intellect works. Mercury is the planet of intellect, and it likes to be organized about it, and fair about it, and balanced about it. And Capricorn is an analytical sign. So this harmony between the planet of intellect being in the sign of analytics gives rise to the interpretation of Mercury and Capricorn, indicating a person who's got analytical skill. They're naturally analytical. Another way of saying analytical is they're pretty logical. They analyze things and they make their decisions based on what they see. They're pretty practical in their intellect and realistic in their intellect. So they're not big fools or suckers. Mercury in Capricorn is difficult to lie to. Mercury in Capricorn is difficult to fool and even difficult to impress because it's quite critical. This basic flavor of having an analytical way of interpreting the world is actually the flavor of just about everything that results from Mercury being in Capricorn. But let's take a look at another resonance. The second resonance between Mercury and Capricorn is an inharmonious, disharmonious, dissonant one. And it has to do with the way the two parties deal with recreation. Mercury is a fun planet that has to do directly with wit and jokes and recreation and play. Capricorn, on the other hand, has none of that stuff. Capricorn is quite the opposite. It's very task-oriented and work-oriented and serious. So what we find in the native who has Mercury in Capricorn, we typically expect the person is pretty serious. Let us say they're not a very giggly person. They're not a bubbly person. They're a serious person. Even their humor will be pretty sardonic, sarcastic. They also probably have this issue about work versus play. They will probably find it difficult to relax. They'll probably find it difficult to stop working. In fact, they probably don't enjoy not having something to work on. So they mix this thing where fun seems like work. It seems like a lot of work to be social. It seems like a lot of work to go to a party and dress right and all this stuff. Whereas work seems like fun. It's kind of cool to make progress towards your goals, and that's enjoyable, and get things done and work. A third thing that goes on when you put Mercury in Capricorn is that they start to vibe about how they feel about relationships. Capricorn is a sign which is kind of cold, practical, analytical. It's detached. It's not attached or emotionally warm. Mercury, on the other hand, is friendly. It's friendly. So you have a clash between the planet of friendliness and friendship being in a sign that's not particularly emotive at all. It's quite detached. So what you expect when you have a person with Mercury in Capricorn is that they are going to be less concerned with warmth and demonstrative emotions in their relationships. They're more concerned with practical care and practical being there for the friend, being there for the partner. They're going to be more okay with long distance relationships. They're going to be more okay with relating also with people that are different from them. This will also affect the way that they communicate, because relationship means communication too, and Mercury is the planet of speech. So you'll find that Mercury Capricorn natives have this unique thing about them where they're actually muted but blunt at the same time. They're more muted than usual, than most people, meaning they don't talk with as much volume or frequency, but they're much more straightforward and practical and direct and a little bit fearless in how they talk. So the motto of Mercury with relationships is conversations is maybe there's less of it, but it's more potent. Finally, there's one more issue that starts to hum when Mercury goes into Capricorn, and it has to do with occupation, or what we say in Sanskrit is varna. To put it in Sanskrit is because it's the easiest way to conceptualize it. The planet and the sign are not of the same varna, which means like occupational class. The planet is of the varna of Vaishya. Mercury is Vaishya varna, which means it's management and business oriented, and it's money oriented. It really likes to make profit and earn money. That's Mercury. Capricorn is Shudra oriented, which means it's not money oriented, it's work oriented. It likes to labor. So to put it in English, you have a clash between the planet, which is like the manager of the corporation or the head of the business, being in the sign, which is like the employee. So what you find with a native who has Mercury in Capricorn is they're not typically money driven. Their ambition to do mercantile things is muted. It goes down. And they favor working for almost as a noble cause. Like they favor work. They do things because they believe in that. Or they do things because they're supposed to do that. Or that's the right thing to do. Or they do things because that's what they just want to do. And they don't necessarily care how much money it makes or if it's profitable or not. They can volunteer for things. They can sacrifice for a cause. They can subsist on low income because they're doing what they like to do. Now, what we do in these videos with the planets and the signs is I show you a consistent technique that you can use for any planet and any sign. And the technique is very simple. You look for where the planet symbolizes something that's very, very similar to what the sign symbolizes. And once you find that, you assess whether or not the planet and the sign are harmonious about that thing or whether they're antithetical about that thing. The dissonant resonance reveals what's complex or difficult for the native. The harmonious resonance, on the other hand, indicates what's easy, what comes natural, what's an inherent strength for the native. What I'm teaching you really is the method of how to do astrological interpretation by going down into the engine of the symbolism and comparing the parts. The actual interpretation that you should give is going to be individualized per the individual chart. So if you have person A with the moon in Scorpio and person B with the moon in Scorpio, it's not going to be exactly the same interpretation. Because person B's moon might have an aspect from something and person A's moon doesn't, etc., 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 etc. But what I'm showing you in the videos is the backbone of what a planet and a sign symbolizes. And once you understand that backbone, you modify it based on the circumstances, the extraneous circumstances that are affecting it in an individual chart. So I hope you really like this system, not just this one video, but all the videos that we do on the planets and the signs. We'll do them all. And I hope you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those. And I hope to see you around soon. Thank you.